and when I'm talking to you now, I can feel that my brain is a bit brainy. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I mean by headaches. Really, it's sort of all in the brain.
It's funny, isn't it? It makes you feel like all of your brain has gone to the front of your forehead.
Yeah, I can. That's sort of it. Yeah, or makes me aware. I can feel my brain basically, which is, if all other things were equal, would be fine. I like feeling my brain. I like my brain.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning, Judith. How are you today?
I'm good, Nicola. How are you?
I'm excellent, Judith.
Now, is this episode 40?
I don't know. It's the one after the last one.
I think it's episode 40.
Well, that's blooming exciting, isn't it?
I know.
I've got some good news for you when we get to the What's Fueled with Fire section on that front.
Okay. So start by telling me about your week. Then why are you? I can't remember what you said. Ecstatic? Did you say?
No, excellent. No, I can't tell you about that either yet.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Shall I tell you about mine then?
Yeah, I've got a couple of bits, but nothing very exciting. So go.
No. Okay. So I'm on the second week of my holiday.
Oh yes.
And I failed at the 50% of the screen time, and you know the reason why. It's largely due to our newfound excitement of the match betting, isn't it?
Being updated in project updates, I know. But does it count if you're not working? See, if you've got 50%...
Yes, it does, because actually too much screen time gives me headaches.
Oh. So are you getting headaches?
The whole point of August, and when I'm talking to you now, I can feel that my brain is a bit brainy. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I mean by headaches, really. It's sort of all in the brain.
It's funny, isn't it? It makes you feel like all of your brain has gone to the front of your forehead.
Yeah, I can. That's sort of it. Yeah, or makes me aware. I can feel my brain basically, which is, if all other things were equal, would be fine. I like feeling my brain. I like my brain, but so I'm going to have another go. I should get this afternoon off with a bit of that. Anyway, tell me your few bits and bobs.
Well, nothing that very exciting, except my niece. We all went out last night to our local Italian restaurant, who must love us when we turn up for birthdays. The bill was nearly £500. But
she was 21. She was 21, wasn't she?
21 indeed, and she just had all her hair. She's a gorgeous blonde.
And sorry, it's pink, isn't it? I saw it on Facebook this morning. Yeah, I mean, lovely girl after my own heart. Pink hair, love.
You know, I'm not sure how I feel about it, really. But I quite like the dark roots and blonde tips, but she didn't like that. So they're all having dark roots put in. It's hilarious. All the rest of us are trying to keep our roots covered, but the kids are having roots put in. But bonkers. But no, it has gone pink. It is a beautiful, beautiful job, I must say. But you know, it's interesting. Jonathan Ross's wife's always got pink hair, hasn't she? And there's a few other people as well. I'm not always very sure about it. But it looks gorgeous on a young creature of 21. But the point is, Judith, we were all sitting there last night going, where did those 21 years go then?
I know. Tell me about it. I mean, that's what we did at my 60th as well. I thought of something the other day that was madness that we used to do when we were younger. I've forgotten what it is now. But yes, 21, it's the same. But I bet I've forgotten what her name is.
Chloe.
I bet Chloe doesn't have that same sense of where did those years go then, because I think when your first 21 years are quite long and slow, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They feel endless, don't they?
Yeah, they do sometimes. Yeah.
you want to do. But it was
No.
we were all telling our funniest Chloe stories last night around the table, and there was quite a few of her friends there as well, so that was highly hilarious. And Heather was there, my singing sister, and she got put down the end of the table with all the teens, and I could tell after about half the evening that the shriek level was getting to her, because she's got very highly tuned ears, sensitive ears, and the shriek level was definitely getting beyond bearing. But she managed to establish that one of the teens she'd eaten one of the teens' cakes at some event, and another of the teen had actually served her vol-au-vents at another event. So she was working very hard to network amongst them, and was doing a very good job, I think. So what's fueled your fire this week?
Passive income.
Oh.
Two thoughts, really. Ever since I sold my accountancy business, which is now 18 years ago, I no longer believe in all the macho stuff about it's only hard work that brings returns. And ever since the Money Gym taught me via things like, Rich Dad, that what we want is income producing assets and passive income, I'm excited about that. And Rich Dad wrote that book. I don't know, that must be 20-something years old now, mustn't it, Rich Dad? Yeah. And funnily enough, one of my clients read it this week and sent me an email on Monday night that said, "Oh my God, why didn't I just understand this? I'm 46. If only I'd known this." It's amazing that a sort of cheesy American book can still have that impact all these years later. And again, this morning, a client said to me, I've done it the hard way for 7 years. It's really hard work. It's struggle. I've decided not to do it like that anymore. And basically what she was doing was making the leap from being self-employed to becoming a business owner. And as you know, when you're a business owner, you don't necessarily need to go to work. And so some of the income can be passive. And I've started in the last 5 weeks, I've upped my focus on things that can bring me a largely passive income, some of which I'll tell you about today and some of which I'll tell you about next week. But I'm excited by, it's not money for nothing, because you always do something to create it, don't you? But it feels like money for nothing because you did the work historically.
Yeah, I remember the impact it had on me, that book. Rachel Turner used to tell me to read it and tell me to read it. And typically I didn't read it for about 6 months or even a year. And then it totally changed my life. And I never fail to marvel that kids come out of school with no knowledge of any of this stuff, and I can't help wonder if there's some sort of conspiracy going on.
No, it's not a conspiracy. It's an open. I don't know what the thing is. Whatever the opposite of a conspiracy is, it's hiding in plain sight. Which is, we need most people to work their way solidly through a job for 40 to 50 years to pay taxes, to make the system work, to run the buses and the insurance companies and the banks. And that's just the way that it is. That's the way that society works. And so the majority, buy into that hypnotism. Thank goodness they do, because we need that. And it's only the quirky ones, the misfits, that think, hello, got to be a better way than this.
Hello, I can't live like this for the next 50 years. What am I going to do about it? Yeah, it's a funny old business, isn't it? And I really was in despair for my two. I thought they'd been thoroughly brainwashed by the system. But Phoebe's making noises now about not actually wanting to work for a living past 25. So good for her. And I will be teaching them how to do it. What's fueled my fire? Go on.
Yes, tell me.
What's fueled my fire is we're in the top 80 of what's hot in management and marketing with Own It, the podcast. This is the highest it's been. You remember there was that glitch where the algorithm went up the creek? Well, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, my other podcast has been higher than Own It. But I think we've had a little flurry of reviews because we've leapt up and we're on the same row as James Schramko's Superfast Business, the UK podcasters, and we're above Pat Flynn and Chris Ducker's One Day Business Breakthrough. And
surely some mistake.
and also, the Lead Pages podcast, Conversion Cast, we're above them too. So can I just do a little polite beg online for the listeners. If you're listening to this and you love this podcast, and many people do because we hear about it all the time, would you please take a moment just to go and give us a review? We won't insist on 5 stars, 4 will do, but reviews make a massive difference to your chart position, and your chart position is what brings you more listeners, because the higher up you are in the What's Hot charts, the the more listeners you garner. And obviously, Judith and I are giving our time for free here because we love it. And
have you looked at the little chart? 2 weeks ago you told me 1,000 downloads a month or a week or something. I can't remember.
No, I look at that daily pretty much.
Okay.
But I've been awfully busy of late, so no, I haven't in the last 4 days. No.
Okay, so you'll let me know about that later. I'd love to hear.
I will indeed.
Do you feel isolated and alone in running your own home-based business? Do you have worries, doubts, fears and resistance which sometimes make you feel like giving up? Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, you're perfectly normal. It can be scary all by yourself. But what if you could learn how to become a confident business owner, how to trust yourself more and grow your income, relax and be more creative and productive? Small Business Big Magic is a unique business mentoring group providing grounded practical support and advice, fast responses to your questions, inspiration and solutions to boost your clarity and help you find direction, focus and success in your life and business. Join Small Business Big Magic today for the friendship and encouragement of others just like you and the enthusiasm of a coach who gets you and your business. There's big magic for your small business at judithmorgan.com.
Right, so shall we do Client Challenge of the Week?
Yes, let's crack on through that then.
All right, so it's quite a wordy one. Ready?
Okay, yeah.
When you have work that you love, brackets, mostly, and you are grateful, brackets, but it isn't enough, when you've created a slightly broken business with schoolgirl startup errors, how do you fix it? So let's imagine you've started by pricing yourself too low, or exchanging time for money, or fishing in the wrong ponds. Should you quit and start again, or what?
Well, as someone who has on occasions jumped about from business idea to business idea, I'm now a great believer in momentum. And so I would think about fixing it before stopping and starting it, especially if I mostly loved it.
Some fixes are quite hard to do. So if you started by charging too low, it's almost impossible to fix that. So I always say to my clients who want to start by charging low, you can charge low as long as you tell them it's worth this. So it's worth £1,000, you're going to charge them 500. So you've established the value, even if you're actually charging less to begin with. It's impossible. If you start too low, it's very, very difficult to crank up your pricing, because the existing people won't buy it because they've attached this value to it that you charged for it. So you've got to go looking for a new pond type of thing. I think that's one of the hardest ones. And I remember working with a mutual friend who shall remain nameless, trying to emyth his business, and he couldn't. Once you're too far into it wrong, sometimes you have to break it and start again.
Well, I mean, hopefully one is always looking for new clients and they can be charged the new rates. I mean,
They can, but they're different sorts, I think, Nicola. If you start, so for quite a lot of startups, start in a pond where they're all trying to sell to each other because they're the only other self-employed people that they know, and obviously that doesn't work. Because you feel skint, you charge skint, and therefore you're in the skint pond. So actually, you've got to go into a whole different pond, which is a form of starting again.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I nearly fell into this trap myself. I was rescued by the epic Dan Norris, and because I was trying to do clicks and leads and do it at the lowest level was going to be something ridiculous just to get people in, because I wanted to be able to grow with them and grow them. And he emailed me privately and said, honestly, if you start at this and guarantee that price for 12 months, you will be tearing your hair out within 3 months.
Yes, and you'll be, and that's very hard work, isn't it? Where you're undercharging and working hard.
Now my challenge is not. I'm much about to put my prices up actually, and for the lowest level, because it is a ridiculously low amount for what the work we do. And also those are the clients that need the most attention because they're not they're corporate. So I do have some clients that are locked into the low price at 12 month for 12 months. What I'm finding though is that those clients often want to take a payment break. And what I've said is that if they take a payment break, then they'll have to come back at the new rates, whatever the new rates are. And because they are quite financially challenged, some of them, they'd rather take a payment break and take the chance that the rates will have gone up when they come back.
Yes.
Is a challenge in itself, because when they come back, will they want to pay the new rates? I don't know. But what I do know is they won't be able to find anyone as good as me, as cheap as me. So, I know that
And I think that there's a confidence in that. If any listener can say, I know nobody will be able to find anybody as good as me, as cheap as me, then you're confident of the service that you're delivering, and then so you feel okay about charging what you're really worth.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that comes with time, Nicola. It doesn't come at the beginning, does it?
No, it also comes with confidence that your marketing's working and you've got a constant flow of new clients coming through.
Yes, and so if somebody X doesn't want to pay it, Y will.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty more behind it. So the old next.
Yes, I want to talk about pricing next week actually, because I've got another challenge around that. But other breakages. So this lady this morning was saying, I've worked really hard for 7 years and struggled. And then she had this sort of light bulb Damascene moment where she thought, well, that's one way of working, a bit like you said just now about the teens. I said to her, it's because we've been indoctrinated with the glory of graft. I'm rather proud of this expression myself, which is, we were taught to be grafters, and part of me is still proud of it, even though it leads to breakdown.
Yeah. So what could your client, or that client in particular, do? Could they stop what they're doing, sack all their clients? Start again with a new.
Well, let's just think about it, because it isn't one client actually. It's a perennial problem. I didn't have a particular client in mind. I had a sort of amalgam of clients in mind. Well, let's think about it. If you keep going, you're sort of flogging not a dead horse, but a horse that's going to kill you, I think. I find it quite difficult to make, I don't mean me, I mean I find that the clients find it difficult to make enough small changes consecutively that it makes a difference, i.e. turn your slightly broken, slightly unhealthy business into something that's fitter and healthier. I mean, it's sort of what happens if you persist anyway. But if you've realised you've created something and you wake up one morning and go, well, this isn't working, is it that you don't like the nature of the work, or I think quite a lot of things have to be broken and reformed.
Yeah, I always think of them as pivot points. And that I always remember that if you've got 10 pivot points where your business could be improved, and you can change each pivot point by 10%, you're not just going to change your business 100%, you're going to change it 1,000%.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is to look at your business as a process, and we're not taught any of this stuff at school. You have to find it out from painful experience or mentors. Yeah. Think of your business as a process, and there's the old Kaizen thing, isn't it? Your business is only as strong as the weakest link in the process. So that's the one that you need to tackle first. If you've got 10 things you should tackle to make things better, which one's the bottleneck? Which one's the weakest link? Which one is the one that if you fixed it, it would have the biggest impact on your business overall?
Yes, and I think a bit like us as human beings, sometimes the things that we know we should fix are the hardest things to fix, aren't they? And they're our perpetual challenge for a good reason. So I do have clients who tend to turn up with the same old problem over and over, a bit like your friend who tells you she's fallen for the same wrong and type of bloke again and again and again.
Oh, there's so much fun, Judith.
The bad boys. Exactly. And I think, we can laugh, but that pain is going to be constant until you make up your mind enough is enough. And I think that's what my client was saying this morning. And she's quite a a forward thinker, actually. But, it took me 20 years of my accountancy business, which mostly wasn't broken. It just got broken towards the end in terms of how well it fitted into my life. But this woman this morning saying it after 7, I think is quite impressive, actually. And I don't think you and I would wait that long anymore in pain and struggle.
No, I mean, the most dangerous thing is to struggle for a year or two and then find something that nearly works or works on the surface, on the outside, but isn't working inside for some reason. Then and also if you've got golden handcuffs, that's very difficult. If you're drawing a salary from your business that isn't working or it's making you miserable, and you need to break it and start again. I mean, obviously, if you've got a business that's doing well enough to pay you a salary, it's sellable, isn't it?
Yes, I'm thinking of, you're bringing somebody to mind now who I would have told to ditch a business on the day I met her, which was about 10 years ago. But she did hang on to it, and after about 7 years, turn it round to profit. But I think 7 years of your life is worth more than that.
Yeah, well, what if you don't know what else to do? People cling to what they know, don't they?
Kind of, yeah, kind of.
You did start the challenge with work that you love mostly.
Yeah, well, you love it most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's more right than wrong, and there's the seduction, I think, which is it's comfortable enough. And all the people that we see that don't get out of the comfort zone is because the pain isn't bad enough, isn't it?
Yes, they're boiling gently in the pot without realising.
So it's mostly all right, and it's grateful, but it's not quite. You're grateful to have it, but it's not quite enough. I think that perhaps people with squidgy boundaries, you and me included, so you kind of compromise a bit, and then you compromise a bit more, and you compromise a bit more, and then only when you've made that many compromises do you realise how uncomfortable you are and how far away you are from where you really want to be. We've had multiple sequential businesses and simultaneous ones. So we've had, we've done this and then we've done that, we've done several things simultaneously. And actually we've moved on from business to business to business. I've had several in the time that I've known you and vice versa. And I think actually we don't sit with discomfort very much. We try and fix it. And I think you think of your business more like a business and separate from you. And my coaching business I can't be thought of like that because coaching isn't that business model. We tried that one, and that you can make it work that way. But why you would go into coaching to get somebody else to do your coaching, I don't know really. But I think if you're feeling that you mostly love your work and you're grateful for it, but it isn't enough, I think it's probably time to do the brave thing.
And just sell it, close it?
It depends what you've got. If you've got nothing you can sell, which I think most people haven't if it's broken, then I'd probably stash 6 months of money. So, however long it would take you to create a freedom fund, I'd be working on a freedom fund and I'd be playing with ideas about, okay, what have I learned from this that I could make it simpler? So, that's that. So, for example, in the accounting business where I used to send invoices at the end of the month and I was always owed £20,000 and cash flow was always tight because clients always owed me. I just moved into a business model where I never do anything unless somebody pays me in advance. Yeah. So you learn, don't you? What was the most painful thing in my business? Right. How can I create a business or improve this one so that I don't have that pain? And if your existing clients won't adapt, and I don't think they will because they're with you because they like the way it happens now, if they won't adapt, then you've got to start something new, I think.
Yeah, and in a way, I'm in this place with my existing business. There is a pain in the middle of it, and I don't know how to resolve it. But rather than just learn as I go and be more brutal with weeding out less than ideal clients, because
I think that's what we're talking about, Nicola. Brutality, isn't it? I think that's exactly it. Yeah.
Or not having squidgy boundaries. Basically, it's having strong boundaries. You're not, here's what we can do. It's not going to work for you. Buy the course and learn how to do it yourself. But
interestingly, one point before you go on, I can hear your drawing breath. Normally when we say that, so when we lose a client or sack a client or whatever, you're creating a void that something better can come into.
Mm. Yeah, and the other thing I was just wanted to say that if you've got a service business like even coaching or consultancy or any kind of that kind of thing, think about stopping how you're doing it, rebranding it and productizing it. because that just makes such a huge difference. If rather than, I mean, I'm working with one client. I do coaching sometimes, the VIP people.
Yeah.
I've been working with her. She's got about, I don't know, 4 or 5 low cost offerings, 4 or 5 middle price offerings, and including workshops, and then some top end stuff. And we've been working very hard to rationalize it all, because she's got so many offerings. She's confusing her clients, and they're not buying in the numbers they could be, based on her traffic and the people who are opting into her mailing list. So we know people are interested, but I think they're just completely confused about what to buy next, or what to invest in next. And so we're rationalising it, and that is, in a way, productising it. It's making it really easy for people to see how you can help them and what it will cost them to invest in those products or services. And I think that is a real problem for a lot of consultant stroke coaches, that they just haven't productised their offering.
There was a little wealth conference you ran it was just after my mother died, March 2005, and it was the first public speaking I'd ever really done. There were only about 100 people in the room.
Catholic.
And I was standing up the front, spouting on in a pink top, I remember, about the E-Myth, and that being the only way to make any money out of business. And a coach in the front row said to me, "How does this work with coaching, Judith?" I went, "I'm sorry, it doesn't." I hear what you're saying, but actually, you bring your heart and soul to coaching, doesn't it? It doesn't work with coaching. Now, the irony of irony, here's a coach teaching about the E-Myth. How's it working coaching? It doesn't.
Well, no, but you can productise coaching. You can have.
I get that. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying very much. But the core of it is about you, and you can't.
No, good point.
You can't E-Myth you.
But you can leverage you, and you
can productize you. I agree with that. By simplifying the offerings, I really agreed with what you said there. But
as a
there are coaching businesses. You can't turn coaching into a business where if you don't turn up, it works.
Well, there are only 2 ways. One is by having other coaches delivering it in the way that you have.
Yeah, but most coaches we know haven't gone into coaching to do that, have they?
No, that's true. And the other way is by leveraging yourself. By Yarrow Starrock and James Schramko are brilliant examples of this. Taki Moore. If you're a coach and you're listening to this, go and have a look at Taki Moore as well, because he does this really well. And this is about the one-to-many coaching, group coaching model.
Yeah.
They give so much value. They're in those membership sites every single day answering questions, but James says he only spends an hour a day on it, but and Yarrow I suspect spends more, but they're all really good at giving so much attention. But the only way you can get that attention is by joining their group coaching program.
Yeah.
They don't do one-to-one. End of.
Yeah.
So I think that's a possible way out if you're listening.
I think it's true if you like that, and I do like groups actually.
Yeah, no, you love it and you're really good at it.
I do like groups, yeah.
Okay, so client challenge of the week, done and dusted.
I think so, yes. The next week's is a cousin of that one, and you've touched on a couple of issues, the boundaries thing coming up next week.
Oh, excellent. I look forward to that then. I might learn something, you never know. Right, word of the week.
You tell me your word of the week first.
It's multiple. As in multiple streams of income, which is a phrase I haven't used for a long time because I've been trying to focus.
Yes.
But you have derailed that quite much.
I know, so sorry about that, but it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's well, not only is it fun, and we'll talk about it in the project update, but I'd forgotten what peace of mind multiple streams of income can give you. Because I've been focusing on this, building this business, I didn't realise that I felt a little bit uneasy about it.
Exposed.
Well, it's not my only source of income, to be honest, because I do the coaching and I do have affiliate income and I do sell products and have members of my own membership site, but they're minuscule. All of those are dwarfed by the business I've been focusing on. And I had, the whole little thing we're going to talk about in a minute that I've got involved in with you this week. It's bringing me an interesting peace of mind that even if something horrible happened to me and or I lost my business tomorrow, or I decided I couldn't stand it any longer, there is another way to earn a decent living. And
fascinating that you're getting that after only 4 days.
Yeah, well, I've had some great results, but ordinary results, not even extraordinary results. Just with ordinary results, I can pay my bills and live for the rest of my day.
Yeah. I think I can too. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, it is very exciting. But so my point is multiple (streams of income).
I do think we might need to return to this, Nicola, because actually it could confuse people a lot, because you teach focus, I teach focus. If you're trying to get a business off the ground, that's the only way, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the money Jim taught that we needed to be in, what do we call it, the lanes of the wealth highway.
Yeah, the lanes of the wealth highway, yeah.
And I've been in business, and I've been in property, and I've been in not much in the internet, although I use those principles to market my business. But now we're in the fourth one, which is we're not in stocks and shares, but we are in trading and various other things. It's not passive, but we are in it. And I think it's, multiple streams of income. It's difficult as one person to juggle all of that, but the concepts must be embraced, and perhaps we'll return to that another week. I'll make it Client Challenge the week after next. Multiple streams of income, how to juggle them. I'm writing it in.
There is a strategy, and
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, we'll return to that one. My word is free. Also related, I've got free brackets in the marketing sense. I'm thinking particularly. I'm going to give you two examples. One is all the free bets that we're being offered.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not free. They look free to us and they feel free, but there's a marketing point to those. And I'm a customer of Ocado, as you know, that deliver my groceries once a week. And they often send me free things that I haven't requested. And you think, oh, well, that's nice. But actually, if it's really nice, I start ordering it regularly.
Yeah.
So it's free in the marketing sense, which it could be a sprat to catch a mackerel. But if that's the mackerel you want, it's really rather nice to have a free sprat to get you going.
Yes, and I'm thinking of all those little boxes that send you things, all those gift delivery things where they send you little things to try, and like you say, if you like, you'll start using them. But
I've written here special tempter offers, exactly. So my word of the week is free brackets in the marketing sense.
I give up on just being word of the week. Phrase of the week, we'll have to call it.
No, it's free. I abide by my word, free.
Okay, all right. Project updates then. What are you up to?
Well, I've suddenly developed an interest in sport. I never thought I would say this. We're doing this match betting. Are we talking about match betting today?
Well, we can talk about any of our projects, but
okay. So let me just talk about match betting and explain that it is a misnomer. Okay, although Nicola and I are placing bets, because they are matched, it means we're placing a back bet on a horse or a football team or something to win, and we're laying off the bet in case it loses, and we're using the free bets from the bookies to make profits, and we're having the time of our lives. I'm only 12 days in. You're doing much better than me after 4 days, and I'm coming down to see you for lunch tomorrow, so I intend to audit your results, by the way, so stand by your beds.
Right.
I don't believe you're making as much money as you say, but I
no, that would be terrible. My screen
I know.
immaculate.
I think it's because you haven't tallied up the other side, but never mind, doesn't matter. I reckon that even as beginners, we're on target easily for 500 in our first month. Yeah. And I do think as even part-timers, we could probably relatively easily make 1,000 a month. We know that the sky is the limit because we know our glorious leader has occasionally made 7,000 a month, and you and Steve worked out it was possible to make more than the 2 that he's promised us. He is saying that in order to make the 2, you need to work a couple of hours a day, and I think we can both already see how easy it would be to spend those 2 hours. You do get faster and you do get better, but if you could make 2k a month from 2 hours a day, would you do it? I think you probably would, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Especially if it was on top of something else.
I mean, the funny thing is, Nicola, I loathe sport with every fibre of my being. When my dad retired from the Royal Marines, he went to work for the rugby union at Twickenham, and my brother is also the chairman of a rugby club, and my nephews are, the men in my family are and always have been absolutely obsessed with sport. I've never shown one iota of sport, and now last night I can't go to bed until the football's finished.
I know. I sat there at the dinner last night for Chloe, and my son was sitting next to me and my nephew was sitting opposite, and I really only see my son to talk to probably about once a week because he's a busy lad, and he said to me, so Ma, he said, what have you been up to this week? I said, well, I've been learning all about football and horse racing, and he looked at me and I said, yeah, sports betting. He said, I never know what you're going to say next, Mark.
No, I know. Isn't that brilliant? I know. I cannot wait. It's my sister-in-law's 60th birthday party on the 12th of September, and people are going to say, so what are you up to these days, Judith? And I'm going to say, I made money last night on Manchester City, which is what happened to me the night before last. My brother is going to fall off his chair after 58 years of knowing me, having no interest in sport whatsoever. It is totally, totally totally bizarre. But fun, the most enormous fun you can have with your clothes on, I reckon.
Yes, probably.
Now, you tell me, were you going to talk about the same thing or something else?
No, I was going to tell you I'd made £259 profit, but now you've said that you're going to audit my spreadsheet, I better not bandy around.
I'm slightly worried about the other side. Well, if you have made 250, I want to know how you're doing it, because I've only made half as much.
Well, I've been doing it because I put a pot of cash in for the use of laying off, which enabled...
Yeah, so have I.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to send you a link to my spreadsheet afterwards, so you can all...
No, don't do it today, Donnie. Don't do it today. I'm coming to see you for lunch tomorrow, weather permitting. So let's do it tomorrow. Should we do it tomorrow?
Tomorrow, weather permitting.
Yeah. Aren't I coming tomorrow?
I thought anyway. We won't discuss this on the podcast.
Okay.
We can determine the actual day of your arrival afterwards.
Indeed.
Who or what's impressed then?
No, did you tell me about were you going to tell us about your other project or not?
No, not really. I'll save it for the challenge of the week when we talk.
All right, marvellous. Who or what's impressed me is Rihanna, who's one of our regular listeners. As you know. She sent you in a little clip of birdsong from her garden once. Do you remember?
Yeah.
She really likes the podcast. Anyway, she did something on Monday that really impressed me, and it's podcast related. She read one of your... So this is interesting. Let me tell you about Rihanna. She's in my Club 100 group, and so she gets one-to-one coaching, but I'm not doing it in August. So I said to all of them, you can come to the Small Business Big Magic calls, because A, that's a perk of Club 100, and B, if you've got something you want to talk to me about, remember the perk during August and come. Well, so far, out of 30 people, Rihanna's the only person to have turned up. So she took advantage of what was on offer, which is available to everybody, but nobody's done it but her.
Interesting.
So that distinguishes her from the get-go, doesn't it? I think some of the reasons why the others haven't is they're nice people and they're going, oh, well, Judith deserves a break, which is really nice. Or they're going, well, I'll have a break because Judith's having a break, whatever. It doesn't matter. Rihanna turned up. And she said she'd read one of your book recommendations that you bang on about on the podcast. She'd read Traction.
Oh, fantastic.
And she could see a whole new business model for herself. And she was pitching it to her own first client yesterday.
Oh, my God, that's brilliant.
Isn't that brilliant?
People who take action and then can read something and apply it to themselves and then take further action. That's just awesome.
Well, you asked me who'd impressed me. That's what's impressed me this week.
Well, that's really brilliant. Well done, Rihanna.
Yeah, exactly.
And take notice of my book recommendations, because I don't tell you any old rubbish. I only tell you the good ones. And for every one I recommend, there's 2 or 3 that I've abandoned. So.
Now, you tell me what's impressed you this week.
Well, I've got some clients in America who are moving from a joint venture model of selling. They've done very, very, very well. They're in the Tai Chi market and the martial arts stroke personal development market, and they're incredibly successful. And I met them on the mastermind in Vegas and ended up sitting next to them accidentally at a table and really got on very well with them. And but it's difficult moving from the joint venture thing, because when someone sends out an email to a massive list with a personal endorsement, you're going to get more clicks and sales and opt-ins than you're going to get running cold traffic from Facebook. It's just an inevitability of life. And they are getting traffic from Facebook, and it is converting to leads, but they're not converting the leads to sales at the same rate they would as if it was coming from a joint venture mail out. But they are extremely aware that joint ventures are not a sustainable business model. If you're relying on other people to mail for you, and you can't get any new leads and sales unless people do mail for you, you've got to work very, very hard at those relationships. And if one person who regularly mails for you, say every 3 months, stops, there's a big hole in your business. So they are determined to make the cold traffic paid model work, and they've gone away to redo their back end funnel. And they're going to come back to me to put the ads together again for the new funnel, and fingers crossed it will work better than the last one did. But I get the distinct sense that they're going to work at this till they crack it, and I love that. I love the fact they're willing to invest time and effort and thought, but also they're willing to invest a bit of money, because they know that once they do crack it, it will be a rolling on automated sustainable.
Well, this harks back to our client challenge of the week. Something's broken and they're making a fix.
Yeah, they didn't realise it was broken, but it was only broken for one thing. But the one thing is the one thing that will make the difference to them.
Yeah, it was more not so much broken as a vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't even realise, because they'd made so much money with that business model, they didn't even realise that, it couldn't go on forever, because, there's not that many people with big mailing lists around, really. And once you've exhausted, one mailing list, you have to move on to another one.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. That's me. That's who I was.
That's very good. That's very good. Okay, episode 40, I think that was. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. See you later.
Okay, bye for now.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.